Hey there, it's Jason from thelawofassumption.org, and today we're talking about Feeling is the Secret by Neville Goddard. This is one of Neville's early books and a very short book, probably his shortest book, if I'm not mistaken. And also, I think one of the greatest books for getting a nice overview of the law of assumption in very simple language. This is one of Neville's least complicated books. The message is crystal clear. Neville in this book talks about the conscious mind and the subconscious mind and how you can create the things that you want in your life, how to manifest the things that you desire using this concept he talks about of feeling. And I love this book so much because it, again, is one of his earlier books. And as Neville goes on through his career, he does get a little bit more mystical, and some of his language starts to shift a bit. This, I believe, and a lot of Neville's other early work has really clear messaging about the concept of manifesting and the practice of manifesting. So we're going to dive into this. We're going to do a deep study guide into Feeling is the Secret. And we have five main points from the book that we'll discuss here. And then also we will discuss manifesting methods. So, beginning with the law of consciousness, Neville opens the book talking about what he calls the law of consciousness. And Neville often refers to the law of consciousness, the law of assumption, the law, and uses a lot of these terms interchangeably. But essentially, the law of consciousness is this idea that consciousness is the one and only reality. And he says in the book that it's divided into the subconscious mind and the subconscious mind, and you can think of these as two streams that run through overall consciousness. The conscious mind is the realm of effect, and the subconscious mind is the realm of cause. And this is a really important key point of the Feeling of the Secret concept and many other books about manifesting, reality creation, conscious creation. This idea that your conscious mind lives in the world of effect, and the subconscious mind, which is your deep inner mind, is the realm of cause. That's what's actually creating things in your life. Now, the term subconscious can be interchanged quite easily with a lot of other terms, and you'll hear many authors, including Neville, switch these terms up. And in fact, as Neville goes into his later work through his career, he kind of stops using the term subconscious. He uses it a bit as he goes through lectures in some of his later books, but more and more Neville refers to this as the inner being, the inner man, God. All of these terms, in The Magic of Believing by Claude Bristol, he talks about the oversoul, the higher mind. Some people might refer to this as the higher self. But I think it is very useful when studying Feeling is the Secret to think of these in terms of the conscious and subconscious mind. But again, we're not talking about psychology concepts here. We're not talking about these terms in the frame of psychology. We're talking about them in the frame of metaphysics and the very nature of reality. All is mind, that very powerful hermetic principle. So the subconscious accepts what the conscious mind feels and believes to be true. The mechanism of creation is hidden in the very depth of the subconscious, the female aspect or the womb of creation. No idea can be impressed upon the subconscious until it is felt. But once felt, it must be expressed. This is a really beautiful metaphor that Neville weaves throughout Feeling is the Secret, which is the idea that your process of creation, the way your reality gets created and projected onto the screen of space around you into your 3D objective world, happens within. And throughout this book, we'll get into this more when we talk about the section on sleep. But really, Neville's contention here is that sleep is where creation takes place. And, sleep really is a great mystery. Even today, scientists don't fully understand why we sleep. It doesn't make sense from an evolutionary angle. Sleep, being asleep when we were when early humans, if you will, um, were in the wild before we had civilization, being asleep for about a third of the day really makes you quite vulnerable. So it doesn't make sense why we go to sleep. So Neville's contention here, and many other metaphysical thinkers have echoed this as well through the decades, that sleep is actually the time when we go within to create. If you want to think about reality in terms of being like a simulation, maybe when we go to sleep, that's when all the programming happens. That's when, the software of our life is being programmed, and the next day's events and scenes and circumstances are being loaded up into the mainframe of your reality, if you will. So I love this idea. Neville, throughout Feeling is the Secret, talks about how when you go to sleep, you're impressing upon your subconscious mind this feeling. No idea can be impressed upon the subconscious until it is felt. But once felt, it must be expressed. And this concept of what it means to feel something is going to come up again and again throughout this book. So let's move on to thinking feelingly. Neville says, what you feel you are always dominates what you feel you would like to be. Therefore, to be realized, the wish must be felt as a state that is rather than a state that is not. So again, what do you feel about yourself? How do you feel about reality is something I'm always repeating in my coaching practice and in the courses and materials that we produce at thelawofassumption.org. What you feel about reality has a profound impact on the way reality gets created all around you. Think feelingly only of the state you desire to realize. Feeling the reality of the state sought and living and acting on that conviction is the way of all seeming miracles. So you think feelingly. This is a phrase Neville uses again and again throughout this book. It's, I think, a very powerful phrase. It's an excellent way of thinking about feeling is the secret and how you should have this inner kind of lover relationship with your subconscious mind. You think feelingly, or you might even say you think lovingly, only of the state you desire to realize. To impress the subconscious with the desirable state, you must assume the feeling that would be yours had you already realized your wish. In defining your objective, you must be concerned only with the objective itself. The manner of expression or the difficulties involved are not to be considered by you. So again, creation happens from within. The conscious mind, your daytime awake living mind, lives in the world of effect. And your subconscious mind is the world of cause. And the idea here is that your subconscious is actually outpicturing and creating your objective world all around you. So if you can impress it with a state, think feelingly of that state, you assume the feeling that would be yours had you already realized your wish. So the fundamental argument here is that if if a particular experience or a particular manifestation can produce a feeling inside of you, then the inverse must be true, that the feeling inside of you can actually produce the manifestation. So if you follow that line of logic, the whole message of this book is right there. To think feelingly on any state impresses it on the subconscious. Therefore, if you dwell on difficulties, barriers, or delay, the subconscious, by its very non-selective nature, accepts the feelings of difficulties and obstacles as your request and proceeds to produce them in your outer world. This is so fascinating, this idea that when you think feelingly of something, that you're actually sending a message of creation. You're programming your reality to create more of that. And this applies not just to the good, but also to the bad, to difficulties, barriers, delay, as Neville writes here in this quote. So I'm sure you've experienced this in your life. I have experienced this many times. Anytime I notice that there's something I'm trying to get, maybe in one of my businesses, we're trying to close a deal or get a customer to sign a contract or move forward. If I start to dwell on the difficulties or think about oh no, what if this happens? What if I start to produce certain feelings around that particular deal, negative feelings, they will show up as that sequence of events continues to unfold. And likewise, I've experienced this many times, and I encourage you to give this a try in your own life. If I start to see difficulties or delay, I realize it's me. I point the finger back at myself. I go within and I recreate, I capture the feeling. I go to the end, that place where the deal is already closed. The customer has already received their products and very happy, or their services, whatever the case may be. So to think feelingly on any state impresses it on the subconscious. We could say to think feelingly on any experience or on any desired outcome impresses that feelingness on the subconscious. And then the subconscious says, oh, he's feeling delay or worry or anxiety around this. Let's produce more of that. So, really interesting concept here that your outer world is truly this reflection of what's going on within. This is the whole Hermetic principle boiled down really beautifully here. So, next section is as within, so without. Speaking of Hermeticism, the conscious, objective, or male aspect truly is the head and dominates the subconscious, subjective, or female aspect. However, this leadership is not that of the tyrant, but of the lover. So, by assuming the feeling that would be yours, were you already in possession of your objective, the subconscious is moved to build the exact likeness of your assumption. I love this idea because I see how true this is in my own practice. That I can't, if I try to force something, I try to impress, oh, I'm impressing my subconscious mind, and you come at it with a very stiff, rigid, regimented approach, or a very hard and fast, um, forceful kind of approach, that form of relationship of your conscious mind with this concept of the conscious mind being the male aspect and the subconscious mind being the female aspect, it's not going to be as effective. Sometimes it won't be effective at all. It may even be counterproductive. So rather than thinking of yourself as being in charge and in control of the subjective mind, we want to think about it as having a loving, persuasive, feeling kind of relationship. So not a tyrant, but like a lover. You wouldn't force your lover to do something for you. You would sort of coax and persuade. This romantic kind of vibe that Neville creates here, I think, is really beautiful. It's a really eloquent way, and this is so Neville for him to have this lovely kind of language that you're like a lover persuading your subconscious mind. And one of the best ways to apply this, I find, when I'm falling asleep at night, and we'll get into the section on sleep coming up here, I'm doing my visualizations, I'm imagining things I want in my life, but often I find just before sleep, I've got some mood or I've caught some feeling from those visualizations, and I'm just kind of holding on to that and carrying that feeling with me into sleep rather than, I know some people talk about doing sats, or they're getting into the state akin to sleep and doing their nighttime imagination or visualization and trying to repeat a scene over and over again. And I found in my own practice that kind of forcefulness doesn't really work for me. Um, there have been exceptions to that, so I won't say it never works, but I find this loving kind of feelingness approach where I'm not so clingy to a specific outcome, but rather I'm visualizing all these things that I want. I'm experiencing them within, and I'm catching a feeling and just kind of washing that feeling all over my body, my mind, and just drifting off into sleep. A man can receive nothing unless it is a gift from heaven, and the kingdom of heaven is within you. Nothing comes from without, all things come from within, from the subconscious. So again, you could really take the word subconscious here and replace it with the word God, with the word heaven, infinite source, infinite intelligence, however you like to frame this. But a man can receive nothing unless it is given him from heaven. So you can receive nothing unless it's given to you from God or from this higher power that's creating everything in your life. Again, subconscious mind in the context of this book. And the kingdom of heaven is within you. So interesting play on these two passages, one from John, one from Luke, that you 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 get nothing unless it's given to you from heaven, and actually heaven is within you. So you have to go within to get the things that you want. As within, so without. Moving into sleep, which is an entire chapter of Feeling is the Secret. It's a short chapter, but this book itself is very short. And if you haven't read it in its entirety, I highly recommend you do. You can find the book online for free. You can buy it very cheaply as well. So let's talk about sleep. The subconscious, unlike the woman of the world who marries her husband to change him, has no desire to change the conscious waking state, but loves it as it is and faithfully reproduces its likeness in the outer world of form. As in heaven, so on earth. As in the subconscious, so on earth. So the subconscious mind, unlike the woman of the world who marries her husband to change him, is not trying to change you. It just loves you. It's going to produce outside of you whatever you want. You are the creator. You create, you decide how you want to create. You direct this power from the conscious mind, but you do that by intermingling yourself, engaging with the subconscious mind. A lot of people talk about doing this from the alpha state, which is a certain brave wave frequency that you can put yourself into. Beta is the brainwave state that you're in most of the time. That's your conscious waking mind state where you're driving, maybe driving your car or solving problems or dealing with customers, working. That's beta. We spend most of our day in beta. Alpha is that next level where you go into a relaxed state, and the alpha, as Jose Silva is famous for popularizing, the alpha brainwave state is a wonderful state of relaxation. We could call this a state akin to sleep, where you can engage with your subconscious mind. So next time you're doing some of your visualization, I highly recommend listening to some nice alpha brainwaves music. Find something that you really like in that 8 hertz to 10 hertz range, and get yourself into alpha as you're doing your visualizations. The subconscious never sleeps. Sleep is the door through which the conscious waking mind passes to be creatively joined to the subconscious. Sleep conceals the creative act while the objective world reveals it. In sleep, man impresses the subconscious with his conception of himself. So the subconscious mind is always operating. It's only your conscious mind that goes to sleep. And when your conscious mind goes to sleep, that's when these two streams or these two parts of consciousness are merged back into one. And sleep conceals the creative act. So again, here's that beautiful metaphor that while we're asleep, we're creating. That's actually what's happening while you're asleep, according to Neville in Feeling is the Secret. Night after night, you should assume the feeling of being, having, and witnessing that which you seek to be, possess, and see manifested. Never go to sleep feeling discouraged or satisfied. Never sleep in the consciousness of failure. I'm sure you've heard this advice before. If you're in a relationship and you live together and you sleep together, you should never go to sleep angry with each other. You should never have a fight and then go to sleep in the state of that fight. And this is a reflection of that same idea, that you want to really protect and guard that special time right before you fall asleep, and make sure you generate those wonderful, loving feelings of the things that you wish the things that you desire in your life, the things that you are creating. Disregard appearances and feel that things are as you wish them to be. Signs follow, they do not precede. Proof that you are will follow the consciousness that you are. It will not precede it. You are an eternal dreamer, dreaming non-eternal dreams. Your dreams take form as you assume the feeling of their reality. What a beautiful passage. Disregard the outside world, or at least the appearances, and feel that things are as you wish them to be. I think this is a lovely way, again, a beautiful framework for your own manifestation practice. Something I've found very useful for me and that's very effective is going about my day, doing some imagination as well, projecting out the things that I desire in my life, while also creatively observing my daily life as turning in the direction that I desire. And then at night before going to sleep, really caring for that special time. And that's where you really just envelop your entire being with the feeling of this thing that you're creating in your life. Believe it in. Faith is feeling. According to your faith or feeling, be it unto you. So be it unto you. You never attract that which you want, but always that which you are. I believe that this concept of belief is the most fundamental concept of the entire law of assumption metaphysics of Neville Goddard. Believing things in. This is the power that you have within. This is your amazing, wonderful inner power. Instead of believing in God or in Jesus, Neville writes, believe you are God or you are Jesus. He that believeth on me, the works that I do, shall he do also. Should be, he that believes as I believe, the works that I do, shall he do also. Jesus found it not strange to do the works of God because he believed himself to be God. I and my Father are one. And of course, Jesus goes on to say, I and my Father are one, but my Father is greater than I. One of my favorite lines from Genevieve Barron's book, Your Invisible Power, which I've adapted a bit, but this is a kind of paraphrase, which is that my infinite Father who created the entire universe, my infinite Father who created the entire universe is expressing infinite power through me, for me, and all around me. So you begin to think about this beautiful gift of consciousness that you possess. Just think about that today. You could spend your whole day today just loving this idea and being in awe of this idea that you are a conscious being. Set aside any of your difficulties or any of the things you're trying to create in your life and just dwell on that. Just be in awe and totally amazed by this beautiful gift of consciousness that you possess. This is a gift from God. This idea that consciousness, there's this one power, this one great consciousness. We could call it God. We could call it the oversoul. We could call it the great mind, your higher self. But this one consciousness is pouring through all of us, and it's pouring through you. And instead of believing in God, you believe as God. And as Reverend Ike was famous for saying, one of his beautiful affirmations was, I believe in the presence and power of God in me right here and right now. I love this. This is so fundamental to understanding why, how manifestation works, what conscious creation is all about. You are here to learn to create. That is the whole purpose of your life. Manifesting methods. Okay, let's get into some application here, and we'll talk about some methods that you can apply. So number one is understanding that your inner mind or subconscious mind is the creating force in your life. There's so many different ways you could frame this for yourself. If you don't like the term subconscious mind, choose another term. You could call it your inner mind, your inner being, your higher mind, your higher self. But that this is part of you, and that it's a part of you that's responsible for creating, and that the conscious mind lives in this outer world of effect, but your inner subconscious mind is actually the creator of your life. So step one is just understanding that, accepting it. And then number two, cultivate a loving, feeling relationship with your inner mind, not a forcing, dominating relationship. There are a lot of people, especially in United States, North American culture, gung-ho culture of go, 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 push yourself. And I do think there is something to be said for believing in yourself, having a lot of energy, going at your work with gusto. There's something to be said for that. But insofar, I believe that's effective as long as it's coming from the right place. You've got to have that loving self-concept, not a beat yourself up kind of self-concept. I find that that is ultimately counterproductive. And number three, assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled within and be conscious of how you are impressing your subconscious in your mind. So you can do this before sleep. You can do this throughout your day. Just check in with yourself. The question I like to ask myself frequently is, how do I feel about reality? How do I actually feel about my life? How do I feel about this world that I find myself in? If I start to feel that it is out to get me, then I start to manifest more of that feeling state. So be conscious of your feeling state and connect it with the feeling of your wish fulfilled. All things come from within, so give it to yourself within first in the form of the feeling state. So think about this. We think that we want the riches, the beautiful home, the beautiful, loving, romantic partner, the six-pack abs. We think we want those things, but what we actually want is the way those things make us feel, or the way we think those things will make us feel. So the whole idea here is to turn that process on its head. So instead of saying, oh, I'm going to feel good once these things show up for me, we're allowing ourselves to feel good now. And if you can think about creation in those terms, it gives you a lot of power to come at it from that angle, because you start to realize that actually the thing that you really want is the feeling state. And you can give yourself that anytime. You could give that to yourself right now. So it's not the $1 million income or this thing that's out there that you think is going to make you happy. Now, granted, I think those things are wonderful and holy, and I think this is exactly why we came into this earth plane. We came here to be, to do, and to have. And the material things of this world are wonderful, and there is spirit inside of them, and we should always praise each other and support each other on our manifestation journeys, because to manifest wonderful things in your life is such a wonderful experience and such a great way to live your life. So give that to yourself for sure, but give yourself the feeling first. And according to Neville's philosophy here, as expressed in the feeling is the secret, there's an inverse relationship. So as soon as you give yourself the feeling, then the outer world will reflect that back to you in the form of physical manifestation. And number five, create a regular bedtime practice, SATs, visualization, creating a feeling state, and craft your desired state as you fall asleep every night. Really guard and protect that time. And, do it in a ritualistic way that makes you happy and that you enjoy, just for the sake of doing it. Not because you're trying to force things in to existence. Thomas Troward once said that to sum up how to impress on your subconscious mind in positive ways to get the things that you want in your life, Thomas Troward said he could sum that up in 2 words: don't try. And I love that, because it really is true. If you think about what we're trying to do here, is have this inner sense of knowing. And when you have an inner sense of knowing, you're not trying. You just know. You just have it. You're giving it to yourself now. So number 6, believe it in through your inner godliness, thinking and seeing and feeling as God. If you can fully embrace your conscious creation powers, if you can fully embrace the truth that you are causing the results of your life and your outer world, then once you believe that in, then you will start to see these things manifest in your life, and the manifestations will happen much quicker. They will happen much with so much more joy, ease, and bliss. And this process begins to become a flowing, lovely experience rather than something that you're trying to cling to out of desperation or force into existence. So that is Feeling is the Secret by Neville Goddard. This is our deep study guide on the book. And I hope you enjoyed this presentation. If you'd like to get a copy of this mind map, please check the link below. Thank you so much for watching. And again, this is Jason from thelawofassumption.org.